The Forgotten House. Raghav left his village at a young age with a small bag and a heart full of dreams, stepping into a city that was unfamiliar and unforgiving. Before leaving, he stood on a quiet piece of land he owned in his village and promised himself that one day he would build a house there, a house that would be his, filled with peace and happiness. In the city, life was not easy. He lived in a small rented room where nothing truly belonged to him. Every month, he paid rent, watching his hard-earned money disappear into something temporary. Yet, even in that cramped space, his mind often wandered back to his village house. After long working hours, he would sit alone and imagine its design, what color the walls should be, where the windows should face, how the sunlight would enter each morning. That dream became his comfort. Whenever he got holidays, Raghav returned to his village. With each visit, he brought his dream closer to reality. First, the land was cleared, then the foundation was laid, and slowly the walls began to rise. He would walk around the construction site, touching the bricks, carefully deciding every detail as if he was building not just a house but a future. Those few days in the village were the happiest moments of his life, but they were always short-lived. He would soon return to the city, back to his rented room and demanding routine. Years passed in this rhythm, working in the city, dreaming in the village, until one day, the house was finally complete. It stood simple yet beautiful, exactly as he had imagined. The villagers congratulated him and asked when he would move in, but Raghav only smiled and said, "Not now. I will come later," before locking the door and returning to the city once again. Life in the city moved on quickly. Raghav's hard work earned him promotions, and his responsibilities grew. He continued living in rented houses, bigger and better over time, but never his own. Eventually, he got married, and his rented house filled with warmth as his wife turned it into a home. Soon, a child was born, bringing laughter and life into those temporary walls. Raghav once thought of building a house in the city for his family, but responsibilities, expenses, and time kept pushing that plan further away. Days turned into years, and years into decades. His child grew up, his career reached its peak, and life continued within rented spaces that held his memories but never belonged to him. Meanwhile, far away in the village, the house he had built stood quietly, untouched, waiting. Sometimes, late at night, Raghav would think about it, the house, the land, the dreams he once held so close. "I should visit someday," he would tell himself, but someday never came. Time moved forward without asking, and slowly, Raghav grew old. His hair turned grey, his energy faded, and one day, he retired from his job. For the first time in years, he had something he never had before, time. And with that time came memories he could no longer ignore. Sitting alone one evening in the same rented house where he had spent most of his life, he looked around and realized that although these walls had seen his journey, they were never truly his. And suddenly, he remembered the house that was. The very next day, Raghav returned to his village. The journey felt heavier than ever, not because of the distance, but because of the years he had left behind. When he finally reached, he saw the house still standing, aged, slightly faded, but strong, as if it had been waiting for him all along. He walked slowly toward it, his hands trembling as he touched the door he had once chosen with excitement. When he opened it, silence greeted him. Inside, dust covered the floor, the walls had lost their brightness, and the rooms stood empty just like the life he had never lived there. He walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, remembering the dreams he once had for them. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "I built you, but I never stayed." This time, he did not leave. He cleaned the house, opened the windows, and let fresh air and sunlight enter once again. For the first time in his life, Raghav lived in a house that truly belonged to him. He spent his days in quiet peace, sitting by the window where sunlight fell just as he had once imagined. Yet, there was a silent emptiness in that peace. The laughter he had once dreamed of was missing, the moments he had postponed were gone, and the years he had spent living in rented spaces could never return. One evening, as he sat alone, he smiled softly and said, "I spent my whole life living in houses that were never mine, and the one that was mine I lived in too late." The house did not complain. It simply held him, just as it had waited for him all those years. And in that quiet stillness, Raghav finally understood a truth he had spent his entire life ignoring, that we often spend so much time preparing for a better future that we forget to live in the present. Because in the end, a house can wait, but life cannot.